We are on Daf. It really is an easy Gemara tonight. A lot of Agadata. Let's start from Lamed Beis Amud Aleph at the bottom. The last two words. Just now, don't start in the middle of an issue. Rav said, "Ir, a city, shehi benuya olim, which is built of tents. You don't get to go from the outermost tent in the city. You have to go from each tent 2,000 amos, because it's not going to be a city. If there were 3 shacks in the entire city of tents, Ushlosha Burganin. Oh, it's much quieter here tonight. Ushlosha Burganin, or 3 huts. I feel I don't have to shout. Ushlosha Burganin, 3 huts. Modin Minachitza. To be used this afternoon when I saw base managed guys playing football during the second Seder. That was the beginning. Modin Minachitza. Yeah, they look good.
How would he know?
By yeshiva standards. So you measure from the that's what I've heard. Yes. You measure from the outermost house, outermost tent. In other words, once scattered throughout the city, there are 3 semi-permanent or permanent shacks or huts. Then you don't have to go from each tent individually. You go from the outermost tent in the tent city. Now it says more mind-boggling questions. It's really amazing. It says more. Hey, Rav Asi said, if that is the case, it says you should have an outhouse outside the tent, outside the camp, where you would go to attend to your needs. How would Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar go to the bathroom on Shabbos outside the camp? What was their whole camp made out of? Tents, right? So for each family only got 2,000 amos from the opening of its tent. The camp was 12 meal by 12 meal, right? Which means 12 times 2,000 by 12 times 2,000. So the people who are further in the camp, they couldn't go outside the camp in order to go defecate. They were stuck inside the camp. How did they fulfill his pasuk?
So they were allowed 12 meal, not 2,000.
So the first assumption Yerushalmi is making is that what? They kept the Rabbanans.
Right.
That's the first
assumption.
What?
There was no Rabbanan.
Wait. Just wait. Just wait and see.
But I thought they didn't.
What? Yes. First.
And I thought they didn't have needs for the bathroom when they were in the midbar.
That's only from the mon. Yeah. But if they ate anything else, they did. They ate the sheep or the quail they had, sure. So says the Gemara, and furthermore, another kasha. Rabbi Chia braid Rab Shabsai, Makshe, yes, Hechi Yetz the base Medrash Moshe. The base Medrash Moshe after the Chet Egel was 2,000 amos outside the camp. It says that Moshe took the end of Parashas Kisisa, he took the OL and put it distant from the camp. How did they get out there? They only didn't have 2,000 amos from the edge of the camp. They only each had 2,000 amos from their houses. So maybe you'll say on Shabbos they didn't go learn. But if they did want to go learn, how could they go learn, right? So it says the Gemara, I love this answer. It said, Moshe Oslem Shlosha Tzrifin Ushlosha Burganin. Every Shabbos Moshe makes sure, all right guys, here we are, make sure we have, it's mamish like a 19th century rum. Let's make sure we got the huts, or we got the shacks, in order to be Yotzei this Shabbos, that we can all be able to measure from the last tent in the camp. Okay, so therefore, and part of Moshe Rabbeinu's duties as the Rav of Klal Yisrael was to put up the huts or the shacks in order to make sure they could measure 2,000 amos for the outer perimeter, not from each tent. Okay? Shack on, right? So says the Gemara, another answer, Rav Yisrael said, wait, since they would only the camp and travel when God told them to, it's a typo here, and each time they camped it was forever. In other words, tents are not permanent because you can constantly uproot them. But these tents were not constantly uprooted. We had this in Masechta Shabbos many times. Yeah. So from here we see Rabbi Yasi Beiraibu no became Shikticha Kosh Baruch Hu Magdis La'aretz. since Hashem promised to take them to Eretz Yisrael, no matter where they went, Kamil Shul Shah, it was always considered temporary. That's why, of course, we have learned Masechta Shabbos many times. Yerushalmi Shita is that a malacha doesn't have to be miskayemes on Shabbos, because the Mishkan was not miskayim. Why is it not miskayim? Because even though it was the certain place of Kadesh for 19 years on end, but nonetheless, since they were intent was to move to Eretz Yisrael as soon as Hashem let them, so therefore it was always considered to be temporary. So here too, the tents were definitely temporary tents, since the tents are definitely temporary tents, so therefore Am Yisrael was always in a state of temporary sojourning, and therefore in order to get 2,000 houses to the outside of their tents, they had to have those 3 huts or 3 shacks every Shabbos. What?
We still are in a state
we
of
still
temporary
sure.
sojourn.
Well, this is our heter to stay in Chutz La'aretz because we always intend to go to Eretz Yisrael. All right. So Olei Amar Rabbi Yavin. Concerning this, Rabbi Yavin said, Moshe Salem Shlosha Tzrifim Shlosha Borganim. Moshe made for them 3 tents or 3 tracks. Okay. So because this problem, it was always temporary, so that's why he made for them these structures. Rabbi Yisrael said, he made no deal aruchos if he doesn't know what? Oops, sorry. Meraba ribu olam. Now, when you make actually the Bavli ended up not posking in this way, but saying the Yerushalmi seems to argue in the Bavli in this, that when you square off a city, you square off in the directions of the world. In other words, the square which you make is north, south, east, west. Okay? The way we came on the Bavli, you make it in the most convenient square possible, no matter what the directions, right? In other words, if you have a city which has jagged edges, so you square it off in the easiest way and most compact way to make a square. I should say most compact. But the Yerushalmi holds you square it off like the square of the world, that you have sides on the north, south, east, and west. Okay?
There's a diagram in the parish.
Right. The square of the world. Yerushalmi says explicitly, Yerushalmi also says explicitly the world is round. But what it means is the directions of the world. Okay, it's not that's not to do with the shape of the globe.
The corner of the square faces north or west or south.
Not a corner, a side. It's not a diamond.
It's not a diamond.
It's a square.
I said the parish I had a picture of the diamond.
Yeah, no, it's not a diamond. The diamond is the way the Bavli has it.
Yeah.
Not the way the Yerushalmi has it. Okay. Its west should be towards the west of the world, and its south, to the south of the world. Rabbi Yisrael said, now, if you don't know which way is north and which way is south, which way is east and which way is west, so let me give you an easy way of figuring out. This is quite a hard way. None of us could ever use it, but nonetheless, the Gemara gives it here. Go out and observe the sun throughout the seasons. On a place where the sun rises on the first day of the summer season, which is when? June 22nd, or June 21st, June 22nd, June 21st, which is the summer equinox, solstice, right? Summer solstice, excuse me. So,
equinox is
March 21st, right? And September, right? So on the summer, do you get turned off by astronomy too? Right?
I got turned down by it.
So on the summer equinox, on the summer solstice, the sun rises due east. Okay, due east. From that time, until the first day of winter, which is September 21st. No, December 21st. December 21st. For those 6 months, it rises in the east, right? Elu pnei mizrach. From the place where the sun sets on the first day of winter, on December 21st, to the place where it sets on the first day of summer, which is June 21st, Elu Pnei Amarov. That's the west. Now, in other words, the sun is as we know, although we've never observed this because we don't watch, but the sun actually rises and sets in different places across the horizon throughout the year.
It's north or south.
Right. Okay. And they actually, believe it or not, people actually used to look up at the sky and notice these things. Right?
I noticed those things.
You notice these things? Wow. It must have to do with being an eye doctor. So
Like astronomy.
it's astronomy. So that actually the sun is setting in what they call an easterly direction, from the beginning of summer till the beginning of winter, and it's setting in a westerly direction from the beginning of winter till the beginning of summer. Okay, the rest of the time, the rest of the time it's setting either to north or to south to be called properly east or west, and that's how you can tell where the north or where the south is. Okay, so when it goes out of the range of the 6 months on either side, then you know it's either north or south, not east or west. Okay, relatively speaking. Of course, everything is relative to your perspective, right? If you're a higher latitude, as we are, then these things are not as dramatic as when you are at a lower latitude, like they were. But those are the concepts which are involved. Okay, says Gemara, Hado Dichsiv. The angle of attack of the Earth is so sure. The African tribes. Well, last time I was in the planetarium. I went to hear the program they showed indicated that even the African tribes who set up their stone, like Stonehenge, they set up their stone positions very, very precisely to coordinate with where the sun would rise and set overhead at each different period of the year. So they really, that's how they knew what day of the year it was. So they really were very precise in those observations. Why do I have to have this on tape? Just for the rest of our listeners, I have never seen the movie. Okay. All right.
He's looking for the Lost Ark, but not for the movie.
Speaking of Lost Ark, we're going to have it in a few minutes. Says Amar, that's how it says, Holech el Dorom, the sun goes to the south, Visoya itself and comes around to the north, Holech el Dorom bayom, it comes down, it sets towards the south in the day. I don't know which season we're talking about. Holech el Dorom bayom, it sets towards the south in the day. The Sovel Tzavim line rises towards the north in the night. So I guess it's talking about in the winter, I think. Winter it rises more northerly. So no, in the summer it rises more northerly. Summer rises more northerly because summer it's warmer. So it's in the northern hemisphere. That's what it means. I think it rises in the north in the summer. Yeah, because that's why I know it's pretty clear to me that's the case, because that's why, since the sun rises in the north, it's rising in a more northerly direction. That's why it never really sets fully in the northern latitudes, because it's always just over the horizon on the top of the world. If it's not the other way,
Arctic Circle,
right. Okay, even in England, it never gets fully dark in the summer. England, France, England, it never gets fully dark.
No, about 10:30.
The sun never goes 16.1 degrees beneath the horizon, which is the shiur of darkness according to Rabbeinu Tam. It never gets Rabbeinu Tam dark in England in 3 or 4 weeks. No, that's why. That's where the source. I'm convinced that's where the illogical minhag, which we have to wait 72 minutes on the clock, comes from. Because if you go that far north, then there's no difference between 72 minutes and 120 minutes and 2 hours, because the sun never goes that far beneath the horizon in the middle of the summer, right? Because it's constantly not that far beneath the horizon.
So when you were in London,
I didn't notice. I don't look up at the sky. I'm not besides, you can't tell in a big city because it's never fully dark. You have to really go out into the countryside in order to notice that. No. But there are places where it doesn't even get Balatanya dark, which is the minimum shiur of darkness.
Chaim Goat's wife was once in Finland in the middle
So,
of the
yeah,
summer.
that's true. Yeah. All right.
She just pulled the shades down.
Yeah. All right. Says Gemara further. Boy, you're really trying to get stuff on the tape tonight. Everybody's too lighthearted here today. Says Gemara further. The wind goes around and around and comes back to its place. This is the east and the west, and this has to do with the winds, and I'm not familiar with that, and we really don't need to know.
Jet stream goes from west to east.
Yeah, we really don't need to. I don't know how it works over Israel, but we're really not concerned with that. In our Gemara, it's not. So we're just. Yeah.
Mistakenly, I have it too. Astronomical tables of the Europe does all these sorts of weird
Yeah. It is a lot of fun if you understand it. It does. I enjoyed the Sugyas of Bein Hashmoshes very much. I can understand it. Okay, says Gemara. Now we're really off in a tangent here, so basically in the Gemara, but we're going to continue on this tangent. Nicha b'Shilo beis olamim. I understand how you can tell which way is east in Shiloh and in the Beis Olamim, meaning when you were in the Mishkan and when you were in the Beis Hamikdash. The Ma Rabbi Yachud b'Shem Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak. How much do the Nevi'im toil? The older Nevi'im, meaning at the time when they put up the second Beis Hamikdash, way back at the beginning, last Shar Mizrachi to make the eastern gate. Now the eastern gate is not the Shar Rachamim. Shar Rachamim is on the east, right? The closed up double gate. No, that's late anyway. But it's not. My point is, we're not talking about the outer gate. We're talking about the gate of Shar Nikanor, the gate which went between the Ezras Noshim and between the Ezras Yisrael. And that gate was within the Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't the outer gate. The outer gate, which is led out of the Arabah, is called Shar Shushan. Okay, the gate. That's what it was called in the second Beis Hamikdash, because it had a map of Shushan carved into it. That was because of Kavod Malchus of the Persians. So so this is an inner gate. Shar Nikanor was precisely towards the east. So when the sun rose, it would shine through it on the first day of winter and the first day of summer. So they made it precise that when the sun rose on those days, it would rise and shine through that gate. Okay? Shiva Shemus Nikulo. And this gate was called 7 names. We're going to mention them, and then we're going to explain all of them. Shar Sur, Shar Hayesod, Shar Charisis, Shar Isun, Shar Hatovech, Shar Chodosh, Shar Ha'elyon. And now we're going to explain them. Shar Sur, Sheshama Yutmein portion. There, the people who are Tamei who leave the Beis Hamikdash. They leave through Shar Nikanor. Shar Nikanor, yeah. Although they see Suru Tamei. That's how it says, leave those who are Tamei. Kiru Suru Tamei Kiru Loma. Call out to them to leave that way. Now, I'm not sure if the Bavli agrees with that. I seem to remember Maseches Talmud that there was another gate for which they left. There was this. People came to Amin Azara, Cohen, who came in contact with the Sheretz, came into contact with something was Tummy. It was a way to get out. Yeah. Shar Hayesod, Sheshami Yumyasi Salacha. There they would base the halacha because the Sanhedrin was adjacent to Shar Nikanor. Right when you walked in, that's where the Sanhedrin was. Shar Charisis, Shumechaving Negas Richas Hashem. So it was opposite the rising sun. Hey, Matomar, like you say, how do we know that the sun is called Cheres? Omer lecheres v'lizrach. It says in Eov, God tells the sun not to rise. Shara Yisun. What does Yisun mean? Yisun in Aramaic means to come and to go. Specifically to come, as we have in. Let me give you a test, a seasonal test. Where does it appear? That word appear in Chazar Tzashatz in Musaf of Yamin Aroim. A variation on that word. V'yasoyu kol avdecha. V'yasoyu means everybody will come to worship you. So that's the same word, Shara Isun. V'yasoyu. Okay, so that means where you come to, where you come. So here, Shara Isun means people come through that gate, because that was the main gate into the base Hamikdash, into the inner reaches of the base Hamikdash. Shara HaTavech, the middle gate. Shum Yusabit Shnei Sharim, it's between two gates, because there's an outer gate, the gate of the Harabais, and then there's an inner gate, the gate which goes into the Ulam, right into the Eichel, into the sanctuary. So this is the gate in the middle. Shara Chodosh, Shasham Chidshu Service Halacha, there they made up new halachas, right? Because that was where the Sanhedrin sat. Shar Elyon, the upper gate Shulamalo, and the next word is a typo. Karmei changed, it's not Me'ezras Yisrael. Ezra Yisrael was in fact higher within the gate, but rather it's the Machane Yisrael, the Harabais. Machane Yisrael is a term for the even that's not precise, because really it's Machane Leviyah. Right. How many steps are there up to Shani Konar? From the Ezra's Notion? 50. Corresponding to that? 15 Shira Malos. Right. Okay? That's where they would stand and sing the Shira Malos. What? No, didn't we discuss this morning?
Yes, that's why.
No, it's called Ezra's Notion because that's where the women would stand during Simchas Beis Shoeva. What? The Levim would stand there stationary and sing it. Shar Elyon Shulamalim me Ezra me Machdis or whatever it is means our bias. Hachel, the surrounding area of there was a fence around the actual Azora. Vezas Hanoshim was behind the Ezra's Noshim as well, right? Then Mali Yisrael Beis Elamim. The Beis Hamikdash, there's an additional step between the Ezra's Yisrael and the Ezra's Kohanim. As you approach the Mizbeach, you went up an additional step to get to the actual Mizbeach. Now, says the Gemara, Uva Midbar, that was all in the base. That's all the Beis Hamikdash on Yerushalayim. They knew which ways were north, south, east, and west. But now in the Midbar, when they had to set out the camp, Miyayam B'chaim Yitzruchos, who would tell them which way was north, which way was south, which way was east, which way was west. Why was that a problem? What? So what? Why can they look at the sun? Why can they tell by the sun? Come on, guys. Why can they tell by the sun? Exact opposite. Exact opposite of what you just said. You said too bright.
Clouds are in the way.
Hanore Yaakov. They couldn't see the sun. Shnei Moshe says that. Yeah. What? They could be when they.
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly what I'm thinking. It's not in the movie that way. Ten Commandments. Exactly what I had in mind. I saw the wheels turning in your head. This will never make it on. It's based upon so
The good is just swear on top the only test.
No, it certainly won't. What?
Cecil DeMille.
Cecil means. He obviously did not learn Yerushalmi.
Spielberg did, but DeMille did.
Okay. But not Yerushalmi. I'll have to redo it. So, because the Anani HaKavod in the middle, they weren't able to see. When they traveled, the Anani HaKavod were not. No, they also were overhead. I don't know if they saw the sun all 40 years. I don't know. So says the Gemara, Hado Dichsiv v'nosu HaKohasim Noisei HaMikdash. So I'll tell you, the Kohasim who carried the Mikdash, Zeh HaOron, the Oron, the Kiyum named Roris HaMishkan HaBoam, and the people they were preceded by the family of Merori which put out the Mishkan before they got there. So the Leviim were endowed with the Oral, which indicated to them when they set it down, it oriented itself. So it endowed them with the knowledge of what was north, which was south, which is east, which is west. Okay. Ketzad.
Did you realize that was the ultimate UV blocker?
Okay. How would they walk in the desert? Now this Yerushalmi is actually brought down by Rashi and Chumash. Okay. Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina, Rabbi Yisrael Chadamar Keteva once said they walked like a box, meaning the same way they camp. That's the way they walk. They said they walked like a log, meaning they used to reform themselves into a straight line.
12 lines?
I guess not 12 lines. I guess I don't know. No, they just do tribe after tribe after tribe. Instead of being spread out, tribe in a row.
Like a chain.
Yeah, like a chain. Okay, so one long chain. Yeah, not single file, but approximately, tribe. Okay,
But
it was 16 amos wide because Rosh Hashanah.
But in the Yam Suf, they were actually 12.
That's one measure. Yeah. All right, but the question is how they passed here the rest of the time. So says Madam Arkateva, he says that they travel like a box. Says as they camp, so they travel. Madam Arkateva says they travel like a beam. Massive Chomach. It says that Shevet Dan was the catch-all for all the groups. So meaning Shevet Dan expanded to fill the entire area of the rear of the camp. And it was walking like a box. Shevet Dan should not have been large enough to do that, right? So it says, maybe what the Yerushalmi says later in a moment. He says they walk like a beam. What does he do with the keteva? What does he do with the pasuk to indicate that they walk like a box? So he says no. It's a different drasha. Just like when they camp based on God's say so. So when they traveled up Dibur. It was not talking about how they traveled in physical form, but rather how they traveled based on divine command. Just like God gave the command to stop, God gave them the command to go. He who says they travel like a box, what does he do with the pasuk which indicates that they walk like a beam? Which says that Shevet Dan used to be the catch-all at the end of the tent, at the end of the camp. No, he says Shevet Dan had a lot of people, so therefore they talk. Even if they extended like a box, Shevet Dan could arrange themselves to cover the entire back of the tent, and in fact, the back of the camp as it traveled, and they would collect all the lost items and return them to the rest of Am Yisrael. Okay. It says here, every time you lost something, Haya Machziro Lo, they return it. Although they gathered everything for the rest of the camp. Okay, that was the end of that Agada. So getting back to Rav Chumer, Tanim Shem Rav Yehuda. We learned the name Rav Yehuda. Whenever you measure the city, and you to find its outer perimeter, you measure whatever extension it has and whatever outer walls it has. They all come into account the city, even though there's no immediate dwelling in that vicinity. Boy, Rav Yishua, interesting question. If you measure the tchum from a house, you start from the house? You start from the wall of its garden. It has a garden in front of it, a courtyard. Start from the wall of the house or from the wall of the courtyard to measure 2,000 amos. Right? It says, well, let's try and bring a proof. Nishmina minado. Bring a broom here. By shnifat miruach echad. A house which one wall fell down. Nim darima, so it's counted with it, meaning that it extends the city in that direction. It's still considered to be a house. Shtei mishtei ruchos, if two of its walls have been knocked down, Einin darima doesn't extend the city, it's not considered to be a dwelling anymore. It's a ruin, it's not a dwelling. Rabbi Avim, Shem Rabbi said, Kshanit lo karasa, that's only if it doesn't have a roof. Karasa doesn't here mean the beam, like it normally means, which threw me off for a few moments when I started preparing. Rather it means the tikra, the roof. So if it has no roof, avim lo nitla kiraso, if it has a roof, despite the fact that it's missing two walls, nimdari moem, it's still considered to be part and parcel of the city. Says the Gemara, in kshenitla kiraso lo kavir chotzeru. If it doesn't have a roof, if it's roofless, isn't it not like a chotzer? It's not like a courtyard. And we see that as long as it has at least three of its four walls, so it counts to extend the tchum. So it means whenever you measure tchum, you measure, as long as it's a fully enclosed courtyard, you would measure from the outside of the courtyard, not from the house to which the courtyard is adjacent.
That's not the roof that it has the status of the gazebo.
Even Achsadra had a roof, it just didn't have a lot. It was missing a roof in the middle. It had like a side, it's like a... Yeah, that's something on the side. It's not completely roofless. So it says, or somehow it depends on two types of Achsadra. Some have no walls and have a ceiling, like a shelter. And the others have pillars on the side and have awnings over, and just are very open in the middle. So it says, so no, it's not necessarily proof. Taman Hukov LeBeis Dira, because there was once a house. Since it once was considered literally enclosed as a house. So therefore, you can, even now that it's somewhat destroyed, you can include it as being a house and extend your tchum from it. However, Hachal Hukov LeDira. Here by a chotzer was never considered to be part and part, never a house, and therefore perhaps you don't measure from the outer wall of the chotzer, but rather from the wall of the house itself. Anyway, ukshum moded lo yeh moded minem tzoi. When you measure, you don't measure from the middle. Ibnei shu mafsid. It's a nice picture of it here in order to clarify the issue. When you measure the 2,000 amos, you don't measure 2,000 amos from the middle. From the middle means from the corner. Because you measure from the corner 2,000 amos, actually over here, you're going to have much less. He has a small print here, what exactly it is. 1,428. Okay, because here the 2,000 amos on the angle, so then you lose over here. So don't measure mina emtza, meaning from the middle over here. Rather, measure elamina chronos. I'm just going to change the gear, so I don't understand. I really didn't notice it when I did it, but it's much easier if we do Kshumoted lo yemoded mina chronos mivnei shumavsid ela mina emtzoi. I'm sure somebody must change it, but I don't see. They don't change it. I don't know why not. They should. Because what it means is, don't measure from the middle, don't measure from the corner, but rather measure from the middle. And then on the corner you get much more, and the corner you actually get 2,800 amos. Why does it have 2,200? It's more. Does it have 3,200? What does it say there? You get 2,800. Yeah, it's a typo. You get 2,800. So then, it's a mistake. So then, what it means is you should measure not from the corner, but rather from the middle. So if it was up to me, I see neither the Korban Eidah or Pnei Moshe do change the girsa. But I would much rather read it, Shumoded lo yemoided mina chronos, mivnei shumavsi, don't measure from the corners, ela minim tzoy, but rather from the middle. Okay? So I don't know why it doesn't change it, but that's basically what it means. Okay, on we go. No, halacha base. Nosim karpa fleir. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Meir says, as we mentioned earlier, whenever you measure outside the city, you automatically give it 20, 70, and 2/3. It's not 2,000 precise, it's 20, 70, and 2/3. Chomer amrim lo amru karpa fel ben shtei ayoros. Your karpa, you don't give every city a karpa on its own. Every city on its own is 2,000 amos, that's it, no more. You only give a karpa between two cities. And what does that mean? If you have one city adjacent to another city within 70 and 2/3 amos of the other city, so you consider them all one city. So karpa is specifically between two cities, not for each city independently in and of its own. Okay? Oh, well, the first opinion holds that each one gets, but in fact, Chachamim lom b'karpa l'shem she'eros yesh b'lezu shivim ha'mishraim u'lezu shivim ha'mishraim. I say karpa l'shteim li'osar kachas. Give each one 70 and 2/3. Put them together. So as long as there's 141 or less between the two of them, they're all considered to be one. V'chein shlosha kvarim ha'meshulashim. And so too, if you have three villages, which are three villages which form a formation. Now, there are two versions of this. One he drew and the other he didn't. One way of drawing the formation is in the form of a tripod. That's like picture number mem hey. But it's possible to, as the Gemara will point out, to put all three in a row also. Okay? If between the two outer ones there's 141 and a third, then they're all linked. There's a contradiction to what we just learned. Because here, we learned before, Chachamim said, between two cities you give each one a karpaf. But here, Chachamim is saying, between two cities you give a karpaf per two. You see that? Because Chachamim just said in the middle of the Mishnah, that when you have two cities, as long as there's less than 141 between the two of them, that's okay. Because give each of the two cities a karpaf. A single city doesn't get a karpaf. Two cities, each one gets a karpaf. But the end of the Mishnah says two cities, you only have one karpaf between the two of them. And that's why you need three cities in a row. And between each one of the three cities, there's only 70 and 2/3 amos. So in reality, there's three opinions on Mishnah. Rameir gives a single city a karpaf. Chachamim will give two cities a karpaf, and they give each of the cities a karpaf. And the last Chachamim will hold that when you have two cities to give a karpaf, but only one karpaf between each of the cities, between each two of the cities. Okay? Rav Chuna is a word missing here, B'Shem Rav's name. Rav said, Rameir Rabbanim Mikra Echad Darshan. Rameir Rabbanim argue both darshan the same pasuk. Rameir darshan says, Mikira Ir. When you measure karpefos, you measure from, it's talking about by an Ir Mikla, but it's the same parameters, 2,000 amos, from the wall of the city. So it says to the wall of the city, measure 2,000 amos. Matam lomar vechutza. Why I say for the word and outside, it's excess verbiage. Mikach, I say karpa fleer. So the vechutza says Rameir means you give each city besides its chum also a chutza. What's the chutza? The chutza is 70 2/3 amos, right? Rabbanan darshan the exact opposite. V'chutza matam it says v'chutza matam lor mikira here. It says you give a chutza. So why did it say from the wall of the city? Elo mikan. From here he learns the typo here. She'ein nostin karpa fleer. That there's sometimes when you go from the wall itself. Sometimes you give a chutzah, but sometimes you go from the wall itself. When do you give a chutzah? Say Rabbanan, when it's adjacent to another city. When do you go from the wall itself? When the city stands on its own.
It's very supposed that specifically 70 to 2/3.
Right. Which we don't have so it's machta. That's true. Okay, granted. Hadam Rasha Ain, it should be She'ain, no Sikarpli, it teaches you don't give a carp in the city. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achon, Rabbi Abuna, Rabbi Nachum, Shem Shmuel Bar Abba said Salkis Mas Nisa. Now the way most the Mishnayos learn, the way most of them unfortunately learn, Salkis Mas Nisa means remove the Mishnah. The way Lieberman learns it means one Mishnah ends and another Mishnah begins. And I really explained that to you when I explained the Mishnah. because I noted to you that the Chachamim in the middle of the Mishnah do not jibe with the Chachamim at the end of the Mishnah. Chachamim in the middle of the Mishnah indicate that each of the two cities gets a karpa. Chachamim at the end of the Mishnah indicate that only between the two cities you give only one karpa per two. And that's what the Mishnah, that's what he's saying. Salkas mas nisin. Don't think it's one long continuous Mishnah that's the same Chachamim. No, there's one Mishnah which stops right before V'chein Shlosha Kforim. And there's another Mishnah which begins, which really goes back to Rabbi Meir. Well, it's not clear exactly who the third Tana is, but the third Tana is not the second Tana, because the second Tana gives each of the cities a karpa, and the third Tana does not. Okay? So Salkas, again, according to Lieberman's Prat, means one Mishnah ended and another Mishnah began. Okay? Says more further. Let's analyze that last part of the Mishnah. Shmuel Amar Basui Shura, as I mentioned before, Shmuel says that they're made in a row. Now, what? No, it's none of these pictures. None of these pictures are all in a row. Shmuel Amar Basui Shura, Bar Kapor Amar Basuim Tzuva. Tzuva is like the Hebrew Chatzuva. They were Israeli, they were Sephardim, so they dropped the ches. Chatzuva, right? So they pronounced. There's a Gemara. It says in the Brachos in Bavli, it says that the Bnei Galil or Bnei Haifa, they used to drop their cheses. We weren't able to pronounce the ches. So very often you find that. Not very often, but you find in Yerushalmi very often they drop letters. But Haidine be'emtza. So which one is in the middle? Which is the middle one? In other words, if you have a tripod, then any of them could be the middle, right? This could be the middle. The way he drew it, this is the middle one. What? Depends how you look at it, right? Because the Mishnah mentioned the middle one makes them all three connected. Which is the middle one? Right? You can look at it in either direction. He has that in Mem Vav, you see? Instead of making the middle one the one on the bottom, he made the middle one the one on the top right. Just by redrawing the lines. Right? So I done him sorry. If they're made, I understand according to opinion that they're in a row. There's one which is the middle one. But he who said it's like a tzuva tripod, which is the middle one. He said, in timshech minahain. I always get mixed up when you have a phrase like this. In timshech minahain hanu emtsoi. In tishach minahain hanu emtsoi. You're right. There is no middle one. If you measure from this one, let me see if I can read that better. If you measure from this one, this one is the middle one. If you measure from this one, so you're right, there's no middle one. Who says the middle one? We can make it work perfectly well if each one is the middle one in turn. Right? Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achon, Rabbi, that's the Mishnah meant. Meant every one can be the middle one for the other two. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achon, Rabbi Yosef Shem said, this time we had in the Bavli as well. In the Bavli we said, this is Muhammad like Memhei. QC Yaakov? It's in Memhei. The city itself, the middle city, is, as the crow flies, less than 72/3 from the city adjacent to it, if you drew an imaginary line. But it's distant from the other two, right? So the Yerushalmi is saying it can be distant from the other two, but it can't be more than 2,000 amos away. Now, if it's more than 2,000 amos away, so it's not logical to say connect. It's outside the tchum of those two cities. How can it possibly connect the two of them, right? So therefore, albeit as the crow flies to the imaginary line, everything is fine and dandy, there's an additional concept, which is that the city has to be less than 2,000 amos away physically in real line from one city to the other city. Okay, is that clear? Yeah? Says the Gemara, Amar Yosa. Yosa said, Kashise Kami Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. I asked for Rabbi Yaakov Baracha. So, we learned, Imiesh ben Shnechi Tzoydim Me'av Arboim V'achas U'shlish, Asem Tzoyd Shlish Loshon La'atir Shnechi Tzoydim. That, in this case, if there's less than 140 and a third, meaning between each city in the hypothetical line, there's only less than 72 thirds, then it unites them. Fine. But what if there's double the amount? Shnaim here means 2 times 2, like picture Mem Zayin. See picture Mem Zayin? How many cities are there? 5 cities. So can I use the middle one twice? I'm really not sure I understand the Havmin and why not. The first I'm trying to explain it, but I don't really understand it. So it says, Yerushalmi, Ma tzricha, what's your question? Now I'm going to change the Girsa, although you can read with the way Girsa works here, but the Gillian Ephraim, which Reb Chaim Kanievsky brings down, changes Girsa. Lieberman leaves it intact, but I like the way Reb Chaim Kanievsky changed it. It says, Ma tzricha, what are we asking the question? The same guy wants to walk in all directions, right? Instead of 2 people. Same guy, so for him it's entirely the Sasre. For him it's like a paradox. He's using the same city in 2 different conventions, 2 different scenarios. But if 2 people were walking separately, then obviously the middle city can be used in both directions. If only each guy's walking separately, if the same guy's walking in all directions, then in that case we have a problem. Alright, boys, I knew it would go fast, but I didn't know it would go this fast.
That's what all the jokes are.
What?
That's what all the jokes
That's what all the jokes this evening, yeah. Shall we wing it for a few minutes? Alright? You only measure with, this is from the Bavli, right? When they used to measure with a rope of 50 amos. Now that means they used to make 40 segments of 50 amos, right? They used to use a 50 amma rope to measure. Lo pachas lo yeser, no more, no less. Because if you use a shorter rope, you're going to be much too lenient, right? Because you're going to have far more gaps, much more inexactness. And if you have a longer rope, you're going to be too exact, much more stringent. Remember we mentioned a few mishnayos ago that they were off by up to 15 amos, right? And it was quasi-intentional, to make sure people would have some leeway. So we want you to be a little bit off, not exact. So therefore, we make this compromise of 50 amma string. Everybody measures opposite their heart. Each of the 2 people who hold the rope holds opposite their heart. And when they were measuring, they reached a valley or a fence. So they absorb it and they return to their midah. As long as they don't go outside the tchum. Mavliya means they go around it. They go around it to find a place where there was no fence or was no gully and go across there, right? But they couldn't go more than 2,000 amos away from where they were, because that's exaggerated. They had to go somewhere within 2,000 amos of this fence or this trench in the ground. They found somewhere else where they could cross and then start measuring there, and then come back and pick up from where they left off. What if they can't do that? Because it's too large a trench or a valley. I heard in the name of Rei Meir, we drill through the mountains. Now, what does it mean we drill through the mountains? So what it means is that if there are 2 of us and we're going up a hill, let's say this is the hill, right? So I stand here and you stand here. I put the rope opposite my feet and you put the rope opposite your head. And that way we eliminate the angle in our measure, right? We're not measuring the angle any longer, which would be a chumrah, because then the slope would shorten the tchum as the crow flies, because the tchum will be going up and down. Rather, we make it exactly as the crow flies, as much as we can, by making the string straight. How do we make the string straight? Again, you hold it as low down as you can, the person up here, and he holds the person down, he holds it as high up as he can, and that way it goes as straight across as possible. That's called makadrin. That's called drilling the mountains, because it means is we eliminate the slope. Okay? Kamu midas tchum. What's the meter of the tchum, says Gemara? Arboim chavolim. 40 ropes. Now, I don't know what the chiddush is. But the chiddush is 40 times 50 equals 2,000. Okay? Says the Gemara, lo pachos. It shouldn't be a smaller string, a shorter string. Mivne shu nimtach. Because, he gives a different reason here than what I said before, which is taka. I forgot what the reason is. Because if it's a shorter rope, they can stretch it. They pull it taller, right? When it's a lighter rope, they can pull it taller, and therefore it's going to be a kula actually, because they're going to extend it too far. Lo yeser, not too long, not longer than 50 amas, because the opposite, because they won't be able to pull it taut at all, because it's so heavy, right? Shunikmaz, it's contract, and therefore to be too stringent, will mafsid, and you're going to lose. So again, lo pachos shunimtach, when this guy is going to usually pull too taut, he's going to gain an advantage, and not less because it contracts and he's going to lose. Is tani moided bechevel shel pishton. There's some who say use the rope made out of flax, of linen. Is tani bechevel shel sholosh lach. Should be shalshelis. Shalshelis, according to the Carbonada, which means a metal chain.
Braided, like a braided chain?
A metal chain. We used to know, when Bobby was always a rope.
Only 10 yards?
What?
In the football game, they measured the yardage.
The metal chain? I guess they learned the Yerushalmi.
Their hearts, though.
Let's see if it brings down some of your...
Maybe it's a braided metal chain.
Maybe, I don't know. But shalshela certainly means a chain. If that's, we do change it.
Like a Havdalah candle. Braided column.
Yeah, it's supposed to be shalshelas. So I guess it's a metal chain. Avis tani, and there's here a Bryce that says bechevel shel arba amos, with a 4 amma rope, which is of course not like our Mishnah. It's much shorter. Okay, I think that's as far as we'll get without me preparing. So we'll stop here for this evening.